When you do dumbbell curls in the gym, you are training your biceps and arms to grow, right? And if you're an athlete and you stop training your arms and biceps, well then your arms here are gonna atrophy and those muscles are gonna shrink and get weak very quickly. So let's just say you put the one arm in a cast and you immobilize this arm for a few weeks. Very quickly, your arm is going to atrophy. The muscles on there are going to shrink and get smaller and get very frail and weak, okay? So this immobile arm will atrophy over time from simply not moving it, from not training it. The person you're trying to become works the same way. Identity is a muscle. And what we do is a result of who we are. What we do is a result of who we are at an unconscious level. Our unconscious way of thinking, thought process, what we're capable of. What we do is a result of who we are. And to frame this up for you, I want to think about and talk about you. Let's talk about you and your life situation up until this point, okay? What we do is a result of who we are. When you were born, who were you? You were given a name. You were given a name from your family. And then you grew up a little bit after you were born and you went to primary school. You went to school and you were a second grader. You were in second grade, okay? So you have this name, this is who you are, and now you're a second grader, and you grow up even more. You go to third grade. You're a third grader, fourth grader, fifth grader, okay? On top of that, you're also from this certain town and city that has a name with it too. You're also, maybe you're an American, and you're an American from the state of Minnesota, so you're a Minnesotan as well. From this town or city in Minnesota with this name, from this family, in this school, on the baseball team, so you're a baseball player, right? So this is who you are. And already you can see the gravity of your situation there. With wherever you grew up, wherever you're from, you've been handed these certain set of labels. And it's nothing good or bad, it's just the way things are, just the way we were brought up. And since we were kids, we've been handed these labels, and we've carried a lot of it with us into our adult life. And we think that we can't change it. We think there's no changing this thing as an adult. Because even in our adult life, we get handed these things, right? We're handed our job title. This is your job title. This is who you are. This is what you do with this job title, okay? What we do is a result of who we are. And with your life situation growing up, there was a certain set of expectations on how to be from your culture, where to live, what language to speak, where to travel to, where to go, what's safe and what's dangerous, okay? What we do is a result of who you are, and your identity, who you're trying to become, is a muscle to be trained. It is a muscle to be trained in the gym. And how we do that, we'll get into that later in this video, okay? So what's the identity you need to get the result that you want? That's what we're going to think about. The foundational layer, who we are. What's the result you want to get as a result of who you are? What's the identity you need to get the result that you want? Another way to frame up the gravity of identity and how identity shapes and molds us. If you've never lifted weights before, but start calling yourself a bodybuilder, think about how wrong that feels. Think about how wrong that feels. If you've never lifted weights and you start calling yourself, I am a bodybuilder. I'm a bodybuilder now. Feel the gravity of that and how wrong it feels to not have the physical results yet to back it up, the external validation to back it up. But also you feel the gravity pulling you in a certain direction that I'm a bodybuilder now, so I have to do things that a bodybuilder does. There's a gravity there with that. Same thing with, if your English isn't that good, you start calling yourself an English speaker. Time to step up, right? Time to start training that muscle of being an English speaker, being what an English speaker does. Okay? So the question is, okay, maybe you don't want to be a bodybuilder, right? Maybe you don't want to be an English speaker. I mean, whatever it is. Maybe you don't want to be a bodybuilder, but what if you actually had to do that? And you know what you actually have to do? You actually have to be the person that you're trying to become. You actually have to do that with this person that you're trying to become. So how do we train ourselves on this new identity? How do we train ourselves as this new person, right? Well, this is a muscle to be trained, and we are going to go to a different type of gym here, right? We're not going to hop in the gym with this one, and we're not going to start training our biceps. We're not going to start lifting weights and doing dumbbell curls. We're going to go to a different type of gym. And this is how we train ourselves on this new identity. This is how we train this new identity like a muscle. We're going to go to the gym of meditation. We are going to go to the gym of meditation and visualization. And meditation is where you train this new identity of yours like a muscle. This person you're trying to become, you train it like a muscle, man. And it's something that develops over time. And as you train yourself on who you are, you start doing things differently at an unconscious level. What we do is a result of who we are. When you change who you are, you start doing things differently. So who do you need to be? What self-concept do you need to have in order to get the result that you want? Well, meditation is where we train ourselves on that person. Because what you're going to do, you're going to get very clear on that person and who that person is, okay? With meditation and visualization, these are a couple other muscles to be trained. You actually develop your ability to meditate. You develop your ability to visualize, to be this person. And in this way, you can confuse reality into communicating this message that you are this person now. Maybe you've heard this before as well, that the mind doesn't know the difference between real and fake. So you can confuse reality and convince reality that this is the person that you are now. Through this mental gym, through meditating, through visualizing at a higher level, okay? So in meditation, this is how you go to the mental gym. This is how you train this new identity like a muscle. You sit down before you go to bed at night. You close your eyes. You sit in silence. And you visualize yourself living from this person. You visualize yourself experiencing life from this new identity and having the experience that this person would have. And as Neville Goddard calls it, living from the end. You train yourself on this new identity by sitting in meditation and living from the end result. Confusing reality into thinking that you are this person now. You train that muscle, and then reality gets that message from you that, oh shit, this is actually who they are now. And you start doing things differently. You start getting different results in your world. What we do is a result of who we are. And like going to the gym, like training your biceps, like training your arms, your triceps, right? Identity is a muscle. The person you're trying to become is a muscle to be trained. And you feel the gravity that comes when you start telling yourself you're a different type of person. you feel the gravity that comes with that. You're pulled in that direction. And to train yourself in this new direction, to train yourself as this new person, to train that muscle, this new identity, you meditate, you visualize yourself living from the end. You live as that person in here, and you confuse reality into thinking that you are that person, that this is who you are now. You convince reality that this is who you are now, and that's at an energetic level. You communicate a different message to reality, saying, this is who I am now. Because you close your eyes, you visualize, and you have this inner experience of you living as that person right now, you living from the end. And that's how you confuse and you convince reality into thinking that this is who you are now, because it is. But it's from the inside out.